Hey everybody, it's Mike Sullivan with Born to Shine. We have an awesome guest with us today. His name is Jerell Maneja, and he is the activities director over at Milpitas High School up in Northern California. He was a science teacher for 6 years, and now he's been the activities director for 3, and he's also the leadership instructor, right?
Yeah,
Dude,
you got it all
sweet.
right.
Yeah, you the man. Well, thank you for being with us, Jerell. Thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule and carving some time out for us. So thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Now, I love your background, Jerell. Can you walk us through that? That looks super cool. We were talking about before we recorded this, but can you share that with our listeners?
Yeah, so when I first got into being activities director, I was very focused on trying to improve our school climate. And, our campus is the largest in Silicon Valley, 3,000 plus students. And we recognize that on a large campus, so many students feel alone. So many students felt so de-isolated. They're eating by themselves during lunch. They're just hanging in their own corner. And it didn't make sense for in terms of building a strong community. And so we partnered with the Sandy Hook Promise organization, who does a national Start with Hello Week. And Start with Hello Week aims to reduce social de-isolation, starting with just simply saying hello to each other. And so in a couple of weeks on our campus, we're going to be having a Start with Hello Week, where we're going to start off with a welcome splash, where we're going to encourage students to say hello to everyone that they see. Now, let's make it one mission that you never know what partnerships may form whenever you just say hello to someone. And my hope is that every single person has someone talking to them, so they realize they're not alone on this campus.
You know what, Jerell, I love that program, man. And I wish I had you when I was a kid in that program when I was a kid, because I remember, I think it was third grade, or maybe, I don't even know, maybe fourth. And I remember times that I was sitting all alone at the lunch table, and I felt incredibly isolated, even though there were 100 kids all around me. And so I think what you're doing is really special. That's great. You're going to help a lot of kids. That's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you.
And then,
Good for them.
oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, please go ahead.
Well, how did you get to where you're at? That's a pretty awesome position to be the activities director. So how did that all come about?
Yeah, it's kind of a blessing. I started teaching science. My whole goal was to build science inquiry, get students to care about science in the real world. And what I realized is that in the classroom, I can control my own environment. I can build positive connections there. But the moment I leave my classroom, it's a whole different climate. It's its own, like, classroom's a microenvironment compared to this overall school climate. And so they could be very happy in my classroom. Second they leave, it's a whole different world, and they feel scared, they feel anxious, stressed. And so at some point in my career, I realized there's more that I can offer to these students and give them a school that they deserve to be in, that they feel comfortable in. And so I started as a class advisor. I wanted to jump in. I love being involved with the students. And then eventually the activities director position opened, and I had a very strong advocate in our principal who trusted me to adjust what I can with our school culture, to build a school culture that's built on positive social emotional wellness, that's built on promoting stronger connections among students and among staff. And I was so excited to do that, to have the opportunity. It was a scary world for sure, because I wasn't familiar with activities. In fact, in high school I applied to be a part of ASB. I was rejected, so I didn't even get my high school experience, other than I wasn't born to be a leader at that time. But since being in this role, I realized it's having that strong vision of what you believe the school can be is enough to drive this program. So I've been blessed, and we've been very successful despite every single barrier that's come at us.
Man, that's awesome. And you mentioned social emotional learning and all of those skills that are enhancing their well-being internally, and that is a blessing, what you get to do every day. And thank you for what you do. That's awesome. And did you have any, just out of curiosity, when you were on your road throughout school, did you ever kind of feel isolated yourself, or stressed, or a little anxious, or how was that for you?
At times, I think absolutely. And Are you referring to me in like my own schooling days or
Yeah,
me
in
in
your own schooling days, or either, both.
Oh,
Yeah.
no, honestly, yeah. Going through elementary school, I grew up in a small private school. It was, 30 students in your class, and I was the one kid who stood out. I had immigrant parents who didn't believe in the American style, and so I dressed differently, I acted differently. And yeah, I was bullied to a point where when my mom said, "Hey, would you be interested in transferring to a public school?" I didn't even question it, jumped right into it. And so I got to escape that environment, go into seventh grade, and I'm getting bullied again. And so
Mm,
it's, having to deal with just why am I not being accepted, and I think a lot of that drives my work. And then to go into high school, fortunately, I found my niche. I found this group of friends who kind of looked like me. They were Asian, just like me, and they were taking all the hard classes. So I said, I guess I'll take all the hard classes too. I didn't think I had any business there. Even up to this point, I joked I should not have been in an AP US history or an AP literature because I didn't enjoy reading. But I did it because I wanted to be with them. And fortunately, it carried me a lot of success, but also made me realize, how easy it is to be influenced by, and how easy to be influenced by your friends, and how easy it is to feel alone if you can't find anyone with that niche.
yeah, right. Well, I'm so grateful, and I'm sure our listeners are too, that you just shared what you did, because that's a pretty universal struggle. A lot of kids are bullied, myself included. I was bullied in third grade to the point that I had so much anxiety and depression, I didn't know how to deal with it. So, and that's what actually drove me and to create Born to Shine, because we're all about lifting kids up with their self-esteem and self-confidence and reducing their anxiety and depression. And so they could just be the little rock stars they were born to be, and getting bullied is tough. So it's great that you found your people, your tribe, so to speak. You found your group, and we're in the same classes, and that's great, man. I really appreciate you sharing that, and I know our listeners do too. So, and that you came through the other side, and you're doing great.
Thank you. Yeah, it changes you. And I recall my mom telling me I used to be a very happy-go-lucky kid who never stopped talking. It was just always positive energy, and it completely transforms you to just shut down. And it carries into all your worlds, and to the point where, it's this point. I consider myself a pretty introverted person. I think a large part of that is always constantly questioning, am I doing enough to appease others? Which is not the best vibe to run your life, even as an adult. And so I think it definitely drives my work as an instructor to make sure not many students have to go through that, where they have an opportunity to accept themselves, where they
Hmm.
feel comfortable in their own skin and they don't have to change themselves to just fit in.
Right. I love that you said that, because there's, in our program, we have 3 points, right? It's love yourself, overcome fears and self limits that we put on ourselves, even though we're limitless. And then the third is just being in the moment. And within the first, love yourself, one of the subcategories is accepting ourselves. And so, right when you said that, Jerell, that just hit home for me, because you're so right. When I was a kid, I didn't accept myself. When the kids were bullying me over and over again, I started to repeat the things they said to myself. So now I was bullying myself, and I started to accept myself less and less and less. And it took time to build that up more and more and more. So you bring up a really great point, Jerell, that learning how to accept ourselves is really important, and that's and not doing it for others but doing it for ourselves. So
Absolutely.
that's, yeah, man, thank you for sharing that. That's awesome. And how what are some of the things that you guys are doing with your within your high school, and then also within your district, Jerell, that you just think, wow, this is cool, we're doing this, or we have this to help kids with their emotional and mental health.
For sure. I think it was a complete culture shift to take this organization that has a long, rich history. We just celebrated our 50th or our 60th anniversary as a school like last year. And I firmly believe I had to change it, because we had this past tradition where we have rallies and games all the time. But how much do we really focus on the impact these events are having, and how much are we prioritizing social emotional wellness? And so when I first came into the role, I met my new group, all students I never got to select. They were just there as leaders selected from the prior activities director. I said, let's talk about the school for a sec. What kind of, is this your ideal school? And even amongst our strongest leaders of school, they weren't comfortable. They didn't believe the spirit was high. They didn't believe that their identity was embraced or appreciated. And so I simply told them, let's work together to change that. And so I asked them to come up with a mantra or a slogan that's going to carry us. Our one slogan that's carries throughout the year, their choice, I'm not going to place on them. And after a bunch of revisions, they all pitched their ideas. We came up with one slogan that up to this day on the third year, we still uphold up as our mission. And that statement is embraced as individuals, together as Trojans, because they realized that on one hand, we want to continue to build school spirit. We want everyone to feel like they are part of the school. At the same time, we don't want anyone to sacrifice who they are as an individual and who they are as a person. And we want to embrace the diversity that we have on this campus. And honestly, that doing the activity, it was such a small exercise, but it has made my job easier in working with these students, because all I have to do is when they pitch an event, I just point back at the slogan and ask, are we doing this mission? When we're doing a homecoming court, or when we're holding a rally, or we're playing this game, at what point are we giving students opportunity to embrace themselves as an individual, embrace others who are with them, and embrace that they are part of the school program? And so since then, we found that social emotional wellness was one of our big key areas. And so I created a student committee that was solely focused on the social emotional wellness of the school. Their job is to do whatever programming that they believe works for students, to give them exercises and mental wellness. And so we gave them meditative practices. We will hold different lunch activities where they're creating stress balls. We're now, our social media that was focused on advertisements has now shifted to mental wellness Wednesdays, where they learn about these exercises. And just this week, we said, every day we do our morning announcements. It's a repetitive advertisement cycle. Can we change that? And so today we said, for announcements, no advertisements. Let's have everyone do a breathing exercise at school. And that's what we did.
Amazing.
For 3,200 students, we put breathing exercise on the intercom, everyone doing it at the same time. And I think it speaks volumes. I've had an opportunity to the district office, and the mental wellness coordinator heard my work and decided that she wants to partner with me. And then I started to get connected with our school counselors, our school psychologists. We have a Cassie support team that focus on on referrals for kind of your high-end issues related to student social emotional wellness. And so since then, working as a partner with that, it's been just one of the many priorities I've had as an activities director. And the best part is, a majority of that is all student driven. The students found a belief in our mission, and they found belief that they can do something on this campus about it, and they've just been running. And I'm truly just witness to their work.
Well, you're a lot more than that. You're humble, but I think you're the spark that made it happen. You gave them the guidance, and then they came up. Help me if I'm wrong. I think it was embrace as individuals, together as Trojans. Is that right?
Yeah. Yep.
So yeah, they're appreciating and accepting and loving themselves as an individual, but they're also accepting and loving each other as a community. So
Right.
that's really incredible, and it's amazing. I love what you guys have done. I've heard a lot of different things over time of getting to talk with people like you, and I've heard all kinds of different implementations that you go, what? That's awesome. Instead of the announcements, now it's a breathing technique. Let's get centered, to enhance their mindfulness, to reduce their anxiety. It's like, come on, that's so cool. Because the other one is, hey, on Wednesday we're having this, and then it's 2:00. They tune it out.
Right.
I did as a kid. So it's great to have that. The breathing technique, that's incredible.
Yeah.
And
it feels different. The moment that we do something and it just feels different, it's one of those signs that it is the right direction, that we will get some resistance, that we will have people say, why are we doing that? It's a little weird, but it just shows how important it is to do it because of how counterculture it is. And the last thing we want is for a pre-existing culture that didn't emphasize social emotional wellness to persist?
Well, you're smart. And I mean, there's so much research that's building that's showing social emotional wellness, mental health wellness, all wrapped up together. That needs to be in place first. And then the academics can thrive. But with the emotional and mental wellness diminishing, the grades go down as well. So
Right.
they're completely interconnected,
Right.
and one can't work without the other. So it's great. You're feeding their emotional and mental needs, and I'm sure that's helping them to focus and even improve their grades, and even just learn more, to absorb more, to work with their fellow students better, to get along with each other better, to get along with their teachers better, probably even when they go home with their siblings or their parents. So what you're doing to me has a big ripple effect. It's like the little pebble in the pond, and that mantra that you created, that's having a pretty beautiful ripple effect, Jerell. So way to go, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much for being our guest today. I can't thank you enough. This was awesome. So thank you, Jerell.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.